Hi guys, welcome back to perfoRMind podcast with the 10th episode. Today I'm really happy to introduce you to Coach Matt Hank. He is the head athletic performance coach at Santa Monica College. Coach Hank is a certified strength and conditioning specialist with a NSCA, and he is USA weightlifting certified as well. He earned his bachelor degree at San Diego State University and his master's degree from Cal State Northridge. And Coach Hank brings several years of combined experience from the professional, college, and youth levels. He previously worked at LA Pierce College, at Santa Clarita, Cal State University Northridge, and University of San Diego. He also spent time in professional athletics, working for the Los Angeles Angels, training their minor league affiliate in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And Santa Monica College, Coach Hank is a full-time faculty member who teaches both lecture and activity courses. Today, you will have a great insight on his deep knowledge on running biomechanics and athletic performance in general. Have a good one. Hi, Matt. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure to talk with you again. And first of all, can you just introduce yourself?
Okay. So yeah, my name is Matt Hank. I'm the head strength coach at Santa Monica College. So that's actually a junior college or a two-year college in LA. So what we really try to do is like prepare the student athletes and the regular students too. But for me, the student athletes to hopefully transfer on to the big 4-year universities on like athletic scholarship is the goal. You know, besides obviously winning at our level as well. So that's just the kind of context of where I'm at right now. We have really all the major teams here in the U.S. that we train in our weight room at the college. So like basketball, soccer, American football, aquatic sports, you know, volleyball. So kind of really all the major sports. We're busy throughout the week training them. And then just a little bit of the background, I guess. I've been in this, I think going on like 20 years now, really, as a strength coach at a couple different levels. But the last 15, I think, maybe it's 16 now, years at this level, which is like the 2-year college, the junior college. So I've been at 2 different colleges during this time. So that's where I've spent the majority of my like professional career, the last, again, 15, 16, going on 16 years now. And before that, though, I was like in professional baseball. I was in youth athletics, like high school setting. And I had my own company a couple times where I did youth development training independently. So just, yeah, kind of a vast background of like younger athletes. And I still train some to this day. So I have some free time working at this college where like maybe on the weekends or something, I'm training high school athletes or youth athletes, even college athletes that come back in the summer and things like that from their universities. I'll train them. So yeah, that's kind of variety of sort of my background over the last 20 years.
And did you practice any sport? Which is your main sport, or how did you grow up as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing kind of some of the traditional sports again here in the US and especially Southern California. So like soccer, basketball, baseball. Those were, I'd say, my sort of main sports growing up. And then basketball dropped off and I kept soccer and baseball, and then soccer dropped off. And then I included football, American football for in high school. So for me, I just up through high school, I played baseball and football because I started getting into training. So I got certified to be a personal trainer, at least as my first step when I was 19. So I tell people my college sport was training, you know, because I literally started younger than most of any of the strength coaches I know. Because that was my sport in college, so to speak. I was training myself, but I also was into personal training and segued into the athletic side of things. But yeah, I had a variety of kind of sports background going up, leading into it. That's why I was interested in this field. You know, in high school, it's like, I could have been better if I had this type of training. I was like, damn. And then you start to look into it and you're like, this is really interesting what I didn't have. And if I could provide that to others, like student athletes, my goodness, you know, how good could they be? And that was kind of the interest, really.
Yeah. Okay. So your path was kind of linear because you were passionate about sports. You were into the, field, and then it was like really natural. Because I always find interesting how like a coach or athletic performance coach can develop throughout the years. And sometimes you can see like issues back in the past of coach. For example, I had several injuries myself, so I was driven into like understanding how I could manage and solve these issues by myself, and then by chasing some opportunities, and then started to train other people. Did you have any experience like this, or talk about injuries or other issues to solve yourself?
No, so I'm pretty lucky. I've never had any major injury growing up. Um, yeah, really at all. I mean, like youth baseball, there was a time where I kind of had like pitcher's elbow, and nowadays these kids they just straight get like Tommy John surgery, even like in high school and stuff,
Mhm.
which is crazy. So if this would have happened nowadays, who knows? I probably would have gone down that path. But that was it really. I think it was for me more of the idea, kind of like I was saying, where I played sports and I was fairly competitive growing up and through high school, and I was like, oh, I need more. Like, what else can I do? You know, my parents are busy. I have two younger sisters, much younger than me. So I mean, I'm kind of like, what can I do by myself? What can I like find resources? I mean, I even, I had a part-time job just so I could pay for my own gym membership in high school because I was that interested in finding ways. So to me, that's where it started. If anything, it was like, wait, how come this guy is a little bit stronger, faster than I am? Like that makes no sense. So then I'm like, oh, well, I could train that. Okay, I could. Oh, now I can train this idea. Oh, I can not only get stronger, I can get faster, I can get more explosive. So to me, it was always just an interest in like finding new ways and new methods, literally since like high school, I would say. Um, and then it just segued into, you know, year after year, decade after decade, to where I'm at now. But I think that's what it was for me more so, was the interest of like, shoot, if I would have known these things back then, oh my goodness, would have been much more successful, that kind of thing.
For sure. Um, did you have a mentor helping you throughout your career?
Yeah, I would say I didn't do as like traditional as some people where they really had like one mentor that I mean, I've had some good people I've worked for. Like my first position was at the university when I was in grad school. So, I mean, I went 6 years straight, 4 years undergrad, 2 years grad school, all my kinesiology classes, get my master's degree and done with college. So my first 2 years of grad school, or my years of grad school, excuse me, when I was a strength coach, my first 2 years as a strength coach, I was lucky that I interacted and had a boss he's actually the head of performance for the Atlanta Braves, Brad Scott. So very outside the box kind of thinking at that time, which was like 2004, 5, 6 range. And then I went straight into another position where it was totally different experience. Steve, I can never pronounce his last name to this day, but he was the head of the U.S. Men's national team for soccer, Everton Football Club, big time sports performance coach across the world. So I was very fortunate to pick his brain for a good 10 months or so. And then I did a lot like learn from my own, like behind the computer books. So I didn't always meet people, but I would like, all right, Louis Simmons, I'm going to buy every book and watch every video you have to learn about how to get strong. Olympic weightlifting, like one person was this guy, Glenn Penley in the US, that I learned everything he had, but I never met the guy. um, so that sort of thing. More recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, somebody that I do meet and talk with on a regular basis now, this part of my career is Darian Barr. So I learned a lot from him. And this is probably one of the first people I talk to on a regular basis about ideas. It's kind of mentoring me through ideas. But a lot of mine was self-study, to be honest, from a distance. I would meet a coach at a clinic and be like, nice to meet you. By the way, I've read all your materials. You don't even know who I am, but I know who you are. So I did a lot of that myself, for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. Before going to the Aderian bar topic, because there is a lot to talk about, like, and then connected to speed in general. I wanted to know, how is your department at Santa Monica College organized? So how many coaches you are, and how, for example, many teams and how many athletes you have to deal with?
Yeah. So again, our college itself is actually big. It's like I don't know right now, maybe 25 to 30,000 students. Like it's a big college, but it's also spread out, has online classes, things like that. But just to give you context of how big our college is, it's like a big university. So for the athletic department, it's fairly big as well because we have like American football, that's, 70 guys on the team, men's soccer, women's soccer, that's both 25 plus athletes on each team, men and women's basketball, that's, 15 plus athletes on each team. What am I forgetting? Volleyball, 20 athletes per team. Like, so what else am I forgetting? Maybe some of the aquatics, softball. So we're probably in a couple hundred, I guess you could say, in terms of number of athletes that come in through us in the weight room on a weekly basis. And then when I say come to us, it's really so myself as the head strength coach at the college, and then the other strength coach, Nick, who's my assistant, and it's just us. So we kind of split teams, we split days of the week. We have one athletic weight room. It's really nice, and it's kind of state of the art, but there's one of it. So we got to split which teams come in and which days he's training, which days I'm training in there. And then besides that, we'll have some volunteer internship type of coaches that come from different universities, like local university, or even from our college. We'll have a couple students from our college who are studying, and they help us out. So yeah, 2 paid, 1 full-time, 1 part-time, and then a handful of volunteer intern coaches in a couple hundred athletic department students, a
Okay.
couple hundred athletes in the department. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any athletic trainer or physical therapist connected in your facility?
Yeah, so we have 2 full-time athletic
No?
trainers. Yeah, at this situation where we're at the most junior colleges, these 2-year colleges, they're so busy because there's 2 of them only really for all these teams. So it's really kind of like somebody is actually injured and they're missing games. They're the ones at the field or the competition or the sporting event, obviously, like an athletic trainer would be. Um, but then they have some limited resources and how much, say, like rehab they can do just based on their time. We have like a physical therapist or 2 that are contracted through the college, but we don't have like a full-time Santa Monica physical therapist or physio or chiropractor, let's say. So those ones are contracted out through our college itself.
Yeah.
But our student athletes would have access to some of those resources as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we can talk about your connection to a Darien bar. And
Sure.
when I was, for example, last year in UCLA interning, I was talking with a coach that I was working with, and he mentioned me about this guy that is really sharing a lot of information regarding sprinting and sport performance. And as well, then I talked with Antonio Squillante, that he mentioned me about you. And then when I got to know you, I connected the dots and basically understood how much you are interacting on a daily basis. And so which are the main things that you are taking away during these years, learning from a Darien bar, that maybe are like debunking some myths?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of different things. I mean, even before, that's why I guess to put it in context, the reason I got so interested in the Darian's work, because I was already questioning so much of traditional strength and conditioning. It just didn't like make a lot of sense to me. I had already put in like 15 years of work, and I did Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting in terms of developing maximal strength with all these athletes for like 14 years, 15 years. And it was like, they're better, but they're not consistently better. Like I wouldn't have full teams that always get better. Like, yes, this kid got better. Oh, she got better. But this one stayed the same. Actually, this athlete kind of got worse. Oh, this athlete. So that's what always interests me. I was like, these results aren't consistent. This is insane. Like I'm doing cleans and snatches, like you told me. I'm doing heavy squatting, like you guys told me. When I say you, like the field, especially like the formal education field in the U.S. But even reading, overseas work and all the Russian literature that I had read all these years, and it's like, well, I'm doing all this explosive work, but it's so general. I'm doing all these plyometrics, but they're very general, and now everything's considered plyometric. That doesn't even make sense. Like every jump can't be called plyometrics. So I just start questioning things. And one of the first people, even before Darian, was Franz Bosch's material. And meeting him, I met him in person several times. And that was like, Matt, you got to think outside the box. And I was like, okay, okay. So then when I met a Darian, it was a no-brainer. So some of the biggest takeaways in sprinting with the Darian's concepts would be just not punching the ground all the time. Because like punching the ground is not the same as sprinting. Like to me, they don't even, it's water and oil. They don't mix well at all. You know, ground reaction force is not the result of you punching harder. Like I could stand up right now and just punch the ground. I'm not going to sprint. I'm just standing tall and punch the ground. That doesn't make me fast. No, that just means I punch the ground. And I'm actually reaching for the ground when I punch. So I start to extend my leg. I start to get out of a bent position, right? You train basketball athletes. I train everybody. What do they play? They play in bent positions. Nobody plays standing up tall if they're going to be fast. So it doesn't make sense. A lot of the basic concepts, the basic drills, A skips and B skips, and some of these tall hips and punch the ground and piston like action. When you analyzed it, it was like literally doesn't make sense. So I took away all those concepts. We don't use anything that I just mentioned. We don't use at our college anymore. We haven't for the last 4 years or so. Since COVID, especially, we haven't used any of those terms. So yeah, if you want to jump into any of that kind of stuff, but I would say we don't for sprinting, punching, standing tall, generic A skips, B skips, just lifting heavy squats to make you faster. All those concepts I don't believe in anymore, more or less.
Okay. What about instead the rotational component? Because I know there is a big topic right here.
Yeah, so instead it's more about that. Exactly. So it's transition to the idea of getting your wheels to spin is like the analogies I use with my athletes now. Instead of punching and piston-like action, that's what we used to use. We tell our athletes back in the day, punch the ground like you're a piston. But now we're like, no, rotate and spin the wheels. We want rotation. We want our foot to hit the ground, and we want to rotate our body over that fixed foot in the ground. And then all of a sudden the athletes just start rolling. So that's another word we use too, like a ball rolling. And I'm like, hey, can you guys roll faster? And then that turns into the type of drills that we do now that mimic those type of actions, like folding up fast, dropping down fast, rotating fast, falling fast. Those are all the kind of drills now we do with our athletes for speed development instead of linear, robotic punch, swing your arms like a robot. Anything that looks robotic, we just got rid of, more or less.
And I was watching one of your webinars, and you were talking about the glute lift, and looks like something really simple, but at the same time it was illuminated, because whenever you think in this way, you just understand how much you can change your perspective. Because if you think about the glute lift and creating this torque on the hips that increase the pulse, for sure is not leading you toward like this kind of motion, punching down and doing heavy squats, and this motion like always connected to the anterior chain, for example. What do you think about?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, like so even the glute lift idea is kind of combined with like back leg training as well.
Yeah.
So the idea, like traditionally what I was taught, and I was taught pretty formally too. Like I went through USA track and field education certification. And again, I had my master's obviously from a US university. And I did all my studying very formal, like like NSCA, United States. So very formal education. They would tell you in sprinting, your glute is going to like kind of punch your leg down to the ground. And then if you just turn everything upside down or 180 in terms of your thought process, it makes more sense. So the glutes actually, your foot's in the ground and your glutes like driving or launching you forward with this rotation, this backward, upward rotation component. So quite literally the opposite of what I used to think. And we're having much greater success with the glute, with your foot on the ground, right? Your glute lift is that idea of kind of like this rotating or launching you, or again, rotating your hips forward, boom, and your leg kind of spins backwards. But then that also shows how important the backside mechanics are. Because in the US, at least, everyone's like, oh, backside sprinting is worthless. It's terrible for you. Don't let your athletes go backside. And I'm like, okay, that makes zero sense. Because if you don't let them go backside, they're probably limiting what they do on their single leg stance and how much of that rotation or torque they're getting from that glute lifting idea.
Anyway, I was thinking about a player that I'm coaching, and this player developed in water polo. And I don't know if you have that in your college, but you have aquatic sports. So as you know, one player that developed in that kind of sport and then transitions into basketball could be somehow like a big step, or at least he has to get used to the demands of the game because it's something really difficult and different. And when I saw him for the first time, I realized that he was moving really bad compared like a smooth type of athlete in basketball. And I decided to implement some athletic training with him, so one-on-one sessions. And to be honest, I did some ace skips and some circle skips and things just to let him understand and get used to in a different environment, and at least to produce force on the ground in a smooth way, and try to be as light as possible, if I can use this kind of expression, because before he was like really low and heavy with choppy steps as soon as he was moving. And I saw big improvements just doing like 20 minutes a week, not that much, but doing some drills. But it was like one special case. So what do you think about like this kind of implement if you have like this type of player coming from a different sport?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like it wasn't the drills at all that you did. It was just the fact that you got a guy to move in space. I mean, we could have probably, let's be realistic, with that same guy, I could have just picked drills from, I could have probably had him like do gymnastics work 10 minutes. I could have had him do, I don't know, like football, rugby drills for 10 minutes, basketball drills for 10 minutes, and combined all that for a 30-minute session, and he probably would have moved better too. So I don't know if it's, so I mean, yeah, like just moving through space, you know, there's some validity to that. Like maybe to an A skip and B skips and things like dribble drills, that it's just developing coordination. So that's maybe the idea again, like, hey, just developing general coordination. It's just my argument more so that like specificity or transfer to sprinting, no, that's not there.
Yeah.
But in terms of, yeah, there's, I think so. I mean, just developing coordination. I mean, these kids these days, when they're super little, they should be doing skips at school on the playground and stuff, but they're really not. That's the problem too. Even especially here in America, in the U.S. and where I'm at, California, Southern California, like the young kids aren't doing what I used to do. They didn't used to like run around in circles and, like I said, do different skipping and fun things. It's like structured or physical education is taken out of the schools. So yeah, I think those first baseline steps are just getting people, and if it's an older athlete or a younger athlete, just to move and feel their body. And you probably did like basic stuff, karaoke, like, you know, just get their hips
ankle
to move.
hops
And
or
yeah,
one leg hops.
yeah, ankle hops for sure. Yeah. That's just coordination off of one foot, things like that. Yeah, I think to me, I would just call that coordination, generalized, you know, coordination training, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any upcoming events soon or something that you're working on?
Let's see, not in the next month or two, but in January, I'm actually going to be with the Darien Bar. He's hosting a clinic. And it's going to be actually, it's in person. It's in Las Vegas, in the US here, in Las Vegas, in person, but also he's going to do it live stream, I believe, too, online for people. So I'll be a part of his, kind of like a big 3-day event coming up in the beginning of January. So that's the next major thing I kind of have going on besides just what I do every day, watch videos and analyze movement, post it for people to see.
And what is one of like the goals that you have for the upcoming 5 years or 10 years in your job?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I go back and forth. A lot of people ask me, they go, you know, are you trying to work for like a professional team? You're going to try to work, you know, one day for the Lakers, like local teams, they always mention, you know, for USC football. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied and happy where I'm at now, to be completely honest, with sort of everything, work-life balance. That's what a lot of people don't get in this industry.
Yeah.
Like today's Friday, we're talking, I didn't work today. I still have a full-time salary, but I didn't work today. You know, my summer and my winter is so light, my schedule. It's crazy. I have so much free time. Like I live by the beach and my summer schedule is so light. So the professional side of things, I don't know if I see that, but I do enjoy a lot of the getting out on the road and speaking at clinics and educating people. So I think that's the main thing I would focus on in the next 5-10 years is being even more in demand on going places and speaking to different coaches, you know, local, but then around the world too, obviously, because it's obviously fun to get out, you know, as we're speaking here from different countries. So it's fun to speak at different, you know, types of institutions and clubs and facilities for sure.
Mm. And by so far, I think you're doing amazing job just sharing contact and just helping other coaches and athletes just to get better. And
thank you. Yeah, I think it's fun to me. I mean, that's how I learned too. I used to go to clinics, right? When I was maybe 21 years old or something. I went to my first one. So it just like, I still remember it. So that was the whole thing. Like when you remember your first event, you know, like anything in life, like, I don't know, your first, I don't know, amusement park, airplane ride, whatever it is in life, when you remember it, then you're like, oh, shoot. Yeah.
Okay. If the listeners want to find more about you, where they can just follow you or.
Yeah, I would say still the easiest right now is on Instagram, because on social media on Instagram, I'm just posting on a fairly regular basis. A lot of the ideas that I'm trying and videos that I'm analyzing of athletes, just as, like, what am I seeing with them move? So that's the easiest. It's at coach_Matt_Hank. So that's people can reach out. They always do. Kind of every day they're reaching out, just sending messages to me. So that's for sure the best way to connect with each other right now.
Okay, great. So I'm happy because we for sure are gonna see you again and soon. And in the meantime, thank you for your time. It was really a pleasure to talk with you again.
Yeah, no, thanks it's good to see you. And yeah, let me know the exact dates you're here in LA again. That's not far from me, so that'll be good.